welcome back to another episode of Disclosure, brought to most of you through the magic of the internet, that marvelous invention that connects us all instantaneously all around the world. And I've actually gotten so used to this connected world we live in that it's hard to remember living without the internet. But Jean, do you remember what life was like before the internet?
Definitely.
No, you're not old enough, right? You're not old enough to have lived before the internet.
Yeah, that would be nice. Definitely old enough. You know, I remember, of course, I wonder if it's the majority of my life. I guess not. I guess the majority of my life now has been with the internet. But our childhoods were all without connectivity.
Wait a minute. Let me do the math.
No,
here.
Don't do the math.
No, you're 60.
No math.
You're 60. And half of your life would be 30. To carry the 5.
I look good for 60, right?
Yeah, most of your life. No, you're probably evenly split. When did the internet come into your life?
Well, I'm thinking
late
it
90s,
was during
mid 90s?
No, it was mid 90s. My first job, you remember my first job out of college, I was working for the personnel company.
Right.
And one of the small businesses that they kind of did we did reception work and stuff for. That was an internet. It was called IBT, Internet Business Training. And the whole company was these two gentlemen who trained people in their offices on how to use the internet. And that was like 94. So, I mean, the internet came into our lives in the early 90s, I would say.
Early 90s? Really?
Yeah,
So most of
gradually.
my life has been on the internet? Although, no, I was born in the decade prior to you.
Yes, you were.
Because I
barely,
married a wife
but you
20
were.
years younger than me.
Yeah, you wish.
Yeah. No, I don't, actually. No, I don't. As I get older, I know that that's kind of a joke that everybody wants a young wife when they're old. I don't. I don't want to raise a wife. I want to be married to a wife.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, and kids have trouble believing this. When I wanted to know something, there was no Google. And it's like, what? No Google? No, there was no Google. There was a bicycle and the town library. Mm-hmm. And you would bike over to the library and hope and pray that there was a book on the subject you were supposed to write a paper on in school.
Mm-hmm. Well, you remember even university. We kind of were at that transition phase, you and I, when we went to university. Some people had computers and there was like a computer lab on campus. I had access to a personal computer at the end of university, but did all my research standing at the stacks, pulling out card files, you remember, and then you'd write down the call numbers and go upstairs.
Yeah, if you were under 35 years of age, a card file came from a card catalog.
Right.
And it was this monstrous thing with millions of index cards.
Yeah.
And you would flip through it looking for the book.
Yeah, you would.
And there would always be some idiot who pulled a card out of the thing so he could carry it with him up into the stacks, and now it's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The internet. Listen, here's what we're going to talk about today. The world of the internet and how Christians should relate to it. And I know a lot of young folks are thinking, we all know how to relate to the internet. I think even if you're a younger folk, how do you say that?
Folk.
If you are a younger, what's the singular of folk?
Don't know. I
don't know.
Fleek. I'm not sure.
Fleek is the singular of folk.
Yeah, no.
If you are a
It's
younger
not that.
fleek, no? Mm-mm. All right. If you're younger, I think we've done some of the most obvious topics on Christians and the internet in the past. Like I think we did a show some time ago on internet pornography, right? And I think that one's pretty obvious. There's nobody out there saying porn is great that still also professes Christianity. I mean, that one was a little bit obvious. I thought we'd look at something a little less obvious, a little more commonplace, something that isn't really wrong, right? Obviously, porn, wrong. But not everything on the internet is wrong unless it's mishandled. And so I want to talk about something that I actually use all the time. Sadly enough, it is the sum total of my social life. It is everything that I have left in a social life because I am a confessed workaholic and I'm also an introvert. I don't like going out with friends and stuff. So the sum total of my personal social life is social media.
Other than hanging out with me, of course.
Well, yeah, you are the other half of my social life.
Yeah,
I like hanging out with you, but even you, I have communicated with on online.
True.
When we're in the same room.
Yes, and obviously when we're both traveling and we're not together.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember how you first got involved in social media?
That's interesting. I think you did first.
Oh, there's no question. I was the early adopter.
You were. You used some of the earlier platforms, and I can't even think of what they're called. But my first dabbling with social media was Facebook. And I remember
That was your first?
That was my first.
That was your
I didn't try any of
first?
those other platforms,
The Facebook.
whatever you call them.
I snuck into Facebook when it was still a .edu, basically. I don't know if it ever really was a .edu, but I remember it was restricted to college students, and I snuck in. And I fully confess that was wrong, posing as a college student to get into Facebook, but I was that early with it. Yeah.
Well, and you told me about Facebook. I remember you said, "Oh, check this out," and then your brother got onto it, and then I kind of reluctantly got onto it, and then I remember soon after that I went to my good friend Holly's wedding, and I told her about it, and then after that I was like, "Okay, this is
and now
this
it's
is where
for
we
old
need
people,
to be."
and now it's for old folks.
And you know what? I don't use Facebook anymore. I don't like it.
So
it's not my
I'm still
thing.
there, and so that means I'm the elderly man, and you're the young hip one who's on Instagram. Right?
No, but
Is Instagram still in?
oh yeah.
I mean, it only takes a year. It only takes a year for a social media platform to fall out of grace. My first, I was on BBSs.
What's a BBS? I don't even remember what that is.
Bulletin board?
Oh, a bulletin board service. See, I don't even know the lingo. I didn't get into any
and I
of
would
that.
hook up to a 1K modem, and
Shawn.
and you would connect at these bulletin board services, or you'd even do computer to computer. And I remember hooking up with a friend, and we're typing little notes back and forth, and then I started laughing. I said, imagine the day they create something where you can hear each other's voices online.
Ooh.
And so we kind of went from the telephone downhill
True.
to social media. Then I got a MySpace page, and if I'm really, I guess I'm not too proud to admit, I still have a MySpace page somewhere. It's floating around out there. I haven't touched it in 15, 20 years. Is MySpace even 15, 20 years old? I think it is. I still have a page. It's floating around out there. I am not responsible for what is on it. My wife hacked it, and all the irresponsible things on my MySpace page were authored by Jean. Address your complaints to Box 999, Loveland, Colorado. So MySpace, then Facebook, which I actually grew to hate. I grew to hate Facebook because, well, of the nonstop stream of requests that came in. I'd come home at night, and there'd be like 100, 200 DMs. I have a question about this Bible passage. I want an answer. And then people get irritated when you can't do it. I can't answer 100 Bible questions at 10 o'clock at night. I can't do it. And so people are getting irritated. So I disappeared out of there. I locked it down. The other issue wasn't even that they were all sincere questions. That wasn't the issue. But the other thing was I had to police it night and day for all of the goofy wackadoodles who would get in there when I didn't have time to watch it and start posting on my stream weird stuff.
Yes,
and they would realize,
yes.
man, this guy's got a fairly good-sized platform. And they'd put their wackadoodle theories there, like you can't go to heaven unless you have a beard. That one showed up.
Well, and that kind
And
of
so I grew a beard, though.
You grew a
Yeah,
beard.
because they got to me. They
So
got
they're
to
right,
me. Yeah, I had to grow a beard because I want to go to heaven.
Well, that was kind of the change for me with Facebook too. I still would use Facebook to keep up with family and see pictures of my nieces and nephews. But when people started posting stuff on my wall, and I felt like I had to check it every day to do damage control, that was where it sort of lost the joy for me.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So now I'm on Twitter. I admit I love Twitter. You can find me on Twitter, but I will, and we'll talk about this a little bit later in the show. If you are a wackadoodle, I will block you. And I don't even apologize for that. If you're nutty, you're gone. And so you're just, and I don't mind a little bit nutty because, I'm a
Keeps
little,
it interesting.
well, yeah, I'm a little bit odd myself. So we're going to talk about social media, but I want to get to my interesting factoid of the day.
Okay.
And turns out that a lot of our favorite computer inventions, from graphical interfaces like Windows and even the computer mouse, we know that at least I think I remember this right, that Microsoft basically saw this at Texas Instruments or someplace in Texas and ripped all this stuff off. But the original inspiration for a lot of the things that we love today were inspired in the 1970s on psilocybin and LSD trips.
Really?
Which enabled people to think radically different and out of the box. So a big F- for recreational drug use. I just want to put that out there. We are not promoting it. Timothy Leary really ruined the research that was going on into psilocybin and LSD. They were looking at it as a potential treatment for PTSD and things. And then he popularized recreational use. So Timothy Leary gets an F- from disclosure, but I guess an A+ for some of the creativity. I feel bad even saying that. So if you go back to the 1960s, there was this time where these things really prompted, LSD and other things really prompted some creative thinking. And then you've got Stuart Brand, who thought up the Whole Earth Network back in the 1960s. And this was a think tank that was trying to figure out how to use all this new computer technology that the military was using to communicate and use it to connect the whole world together. Now, I'm not saying Stuart Brand used LSD or whatever, but some of the creative ideas they did take and dreamed up the Whole Earth Network. And by the 1990s, the Whole Earth Network had become Wired magazine.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
So does trace all the way back to drug research. And it was happening in places like San Fran and Silicon Valley. And they were dreaming of this worldwide electronic network that would connect everybody on the planet, give everybody a voice, and kind of level the global playing field by putting a means of communication into the hands of every individual human being. And did that happen? Yeah, there were some big pluses of that. So when you've got an event like Arab Spring going down, there are people who cannot be sort of devoiced by the government anymore because they all have a social media account and they can tell you, here's what's going on today. We've just been gassed for assembling in the city square. Kind of like what's been going on in Hong Kong recently, right?
That's exactly
they can
what I
shut
was
down
thinking.
all official chains of communication, but somehow someone will be able to tunnel through that firewall and send out signals from social media.
Right.
Now,
Right.
here's what they thought would happen if they connected every human being on the planet. They thought, here's what we can do. We will move out from under the shadow of the Cold War, the nuclear arms race, and social media. I'm almost going to laugh when I say this, but social media will create a harmonious world where we all love each other. I know you're laughing now,
that
but
did not turn out
this
as
was the
planned.
dream back in the 60s that Stuart
Sure.
Brand had. We can all meet each other and be through the exercise of dialogue. We will all exist in peace and harmony, and we will achieve global love. And I know it's funny, you say that out loud now, and everybody shakes their head. It's like Twitter is hardly a place of global harmony and love. And we'll talk about that a little bit today. But that is what the internet was supposed to be. It was literally almost a hippie movement,
Interesting.
taking military technology and trying to turn it around for good.
Take it to the
Yeah.
people.
And here's what else we know. No, Al Gore did not invent the internet.
Oh, come on.
No,
I
he
thought
did-
Al Gore invented it.
I don't know. Did he actually claim that, or was that just kind of a gaffe?
I'm not actually
Yeah,
sure.
we don't.
I'm not
that
positive.
one may have blown out of proportion, but
Yeah.
Al Gore, I'm sorry, whatever you said, you have to wear this. The military basically invented the internet, and
Right.
hippies tried to figure out how to turn it into global harmony.
Well,
I'm laughing. I can't say that without laughing.
Well, in a perfect world, if we did not have the human natures that we have, I suppose that could be an idealistic view. But yeah, it really did not turn out that way.
Oh, no. It is not a nice place, the internet. We'll talk about that a little bit. But there you go. Born partly of LSD, born partly of hippies. And I can't even say this stuff without laughing, but that really is where it stems from.
Interesting.
And so, I guess I love the creativity that came out of it. Can't give an A+ to LSD recreational use. I can't do that. But some good came out of it, I suppose. And maybe some evil.
So, Shawn, in
Oh,
the segments after
You can't
the
say
break,
this. You can't say this anymore because they're waving at me to take a break. So I'm going to take a break, and then I'll let you speak again. And during the break, I will be repenting of that comment. We'll be right back after these messages.
Are you searching for answers to life's toughest questions like, where is God when we suffer? Can I find real happiness? Or is there any hope for our chaotic world? The Discover Bible Guides will help you find the answers you're looking for. Visit us at BibleStudies.com or give us a call at 888-456-7933 for your free Discover Bible Guides. Study online on our secure website or have the free guides mailed right to your home. There is never a cost or obligation. The Discover Bible Guides are our free gift to you. Find answers in guides like, Does My Life Really Matter to God? And A Second Chance at Life. You'll find answers to the things that matter most to you in each of the 26 Discover Bible Guides. Visit BibleStudies.com and begin your journey today to discover answers to life's deepest questions.
And during the break, I ran over to the florist and bought my wife flowers for telling her she couldn't speak. No, it wasn't really, here's what was going on. Hareem in the control room was waving at me like, it's 15 seconds to the break. Shut it down. Shut it down. So I was doing what I was told. It was Hareem that shut you down.
Oh, so we're going to blame poor Hareem, are we?
No, that's right. I'll fire him if you want. Would you like me to fire? I'll fire him
No.
for you. You're done.
No.
Hareem, as soon as we're done the show today, you have to leave.
Oh, poor Hareem.
Yeah.
He's used to being fired by you,
I know.
isn't he?
His head's hanging. This is like the 18th time he's been fired on the air.
I had a very profound comment to make.
Okay,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, after the break, we should talk about Christians and social media.
I know, but your back is to the control room,
But
right?
I can see the timer. Don't forget, I can see the clock too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
all right.
no, we don't actually have a clock in here. We are such broadcast professionals that we have no speaking notes. We have no clock.
Come on, people can see us. If they can watch us.
Oh, that's true.
At VOP.com.
I'm covering up my notes.
Yep.
No, it's true. I don't have the mind I once had, although I never really, if I don't have my little security blanket in front of me, it's not that I actually go off the notes. You've probably noticed, well, I go off the notes all right. I go all over the map.
You go way off script.
Yeah. We were talking about social media and how the dream, I still can't say it without laughing, the dream was achieving global peace and harmony by giving everybody a voice. Let me ask you this. It's almost an obvious question. Think they hit the mark?
I think we missed it just a tad on that one. We've definitely given everyone a voice, though. That part has been true.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been a harmonious voice.
Some people that have a voice that I wish didn't. And we'll get to that, too. I'm not being nice today, am I? This is cranky, Shawn.
This is usual,
The older
Shawn.
I get, the crankier I get on the air, and I've discovered there's a reason that all these older guys are cranky. You earn the right. You don't have to put up with people's garbage anymore. It's like, all right, you know what? When I was 25, I listened to people and I was nice about it, and now I realize you're wasting my time and I'm right about everything. So be quiet and get off my lawn.
Okay.
I think it's pretty obvious we did not achieve global harmony by putting an iPhone in everybody's hand.
True.
And I guarantee there's some 20-year-olds right now thinking that was the goal, global peace and harmony. Mm-hmm. Your opinion. The internet, overall net positive or net negative in this world, and what do you love about it? What do you hate about the internet?
Well, I would have to say overall it's a net positive. Think of what it's accomplished for everyone to be interconnected the way we are. We were talking before the break just a little bit about what it was like to write a research paper in university in the early 90s.
On a typewriter.
On a typewriter.
If you're under 35,
right.
that was a mechanical device that threw a hammer at an ink ribbon.
And I had a fancy high-tech typewriter. Do you remember me buying that one?
Yeah.
Where it had memory, so you could type a sentence into memory and then hit return, and it would put all the letters on the page. So you could make corrections within that sentence. That was all fancy and high-tech.
I didn't have one of those.
Yeah, that was...
I had a chisel and a mallet and a stone tablet. That's when I went to college.
That's when you went to college.
Yeah, Flintstone College.
Actually, I had a hard time getting rid of that typewriter. I was really attached to it. Do you remember? It was
Yep.
quite a few moves into our marriage before I could get rid of it. But internet, definitely a net positive. Not all positive, of course, but certainly doing research. The ability to do deep research from anywhere in the world, that's such a positive thing. Connecting us. We've talked about the negatives of us being connected as a body, but I love the fact that I am opting over Labor Day weekend to not go to my high school reunion because I feel like I
What's the
know
point?
what
Yeah.
everybody is up to.
You've seen them age before your eyes.
It saves me the plane ticket. Maybe that's not right. I'm sure the face-to-face interaction would have been nice, but I don't feel like I don't know what's happening in the lives of the people I went to high school with. I see pictures of their kids. I know what's happening with them, and staying connected that way really is a positive. There's a lot of negative too. Definitely.
Yeah, and I got some negatives here. I'll tell you what I love though. Let me throw in my loves.
Sure.
I love Google Translate. It has saved my bacon all over this world.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. And you know that Google Translate has a little camera built into it. You can point it at a sign and it translates it on the fly.
It's almost
except
eerie.
Hebrew. I loaded Hebrew.
Hebrew didn't work.
And I pulled it out and Google said, I give up.
Yeah.
It just said, we don't do that. Sorry, don't do Hebrew. Love that. Love the fact that You've got access to all of your key Bible tools all the time. BibleInfo.com, obviously. Everybody loves BibleInfo.com because it may or may not be sponsored by the good people at the Voice of Prophecy. The other one I like, and here's a free plug for something we are not related to, but BlueLetterBible.com.
Oh, I love that website.
I've got that. I love video conferencing because now I no longer have to fly to Australia to speak at a convention. They didn't believe me. No, I'm going to Skype in. I'm not going to fly all the way there for one day. It'll never work, but I did it, and that was fun. Spotify, love Spotify. Spotify is our version of Spotify.
That's the internet.
That's
Spotify.
where you could listen to people fighting. Spotify.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to write that down. We need a Spotify for people to argue on. Spotify. Where else can I listen to 5 different versions of the St. Matthew Passion in one day without having to pay for the albums?
Right.
Amazon. Where was that when I was pastoring on the Alaska Highway, right? That's a disease. There's a parcel on our doorstep every day, a brand new book.
Well, not quite, but pretty close.
So, online TV, I like that because I can control it. If it gets out of hand, gone.
Well, and you can watch on your own schedule. There's, back when we were kids, we would say, "Oh, hurry up, we have to get home, Mom, because such and such is on at 7 p.m." That just doesn't exist anymore.
No, there wasn't TV when I was a kid.
And
we all gathered around the radio.
You gathered around the radio. There are some negatives to that, though, too, because consuming media has become sort of a solitary thing. Whereas when we were kids, if we wanted to watch a program, we had to enlist our siblings to agree, enlist our parents to agree, and often watch together. So that I would say is a negative.
I'll tell you what I hate. I hate the fact that the rat race can find me every day, all the time. It's almost, I actually have to go on, we've been doing these expeditions up to the Arctic to deliver Bibles and Bible studies and that kind of stuff. That's about the only time where I can actually cut the cord because there is no connectivity at the North Pole. Literally above the Arctic Circle, cell phone signal's pretty bad. And I don't have a sat phone. So I don't like the fact that you're always on the grid, always. I look at the old days, not that I want to go back to a time when the barber pulled your teeth. There are some things about the 21st century I love. But I look at these itinerant preachers who go on horseback from town to town. They've got 4 days on the back of that horse to think quietly, and nobody can reach them.
Contemplate.
Yeah. I hate instantaneous communication. Everybody thinks that you should be accessible 24/7. And I actually ditched texting. You can call the cell company and have them shut it off. I loathe texting because I can't ignore it. So I'm sure there are people out there who have texted me and wondered why I haven't replied in 20 years because I don't do it.
That would be why. Yeah.
Pornography, senseless violence. I hate the way that everything is presented in front of families and kids all the time. And you don't even have to go looking for it. So ISIS has a beheading. Don't ever watch the first video that goes out because it's the whole thing, before somebody realizes, oh, there's a beheading in there. I think the one, though, probably the biggest negative is that we are spectators instead of active participants in humanity and life now. And so what happens? Somebody gets beat up in the streets, and what does everybody do? Jump in and stop the beating? No, they pull out their phones and record it because they want to be a YouTube star. It has robbed us of our humanity somewhat. Something about it, that we're watching life instead of living life. And the other one, and this is going to sound wrong, but it's given an equal platform to everybody, which is mostly good. But on the other hand, the wackadoodles, the flat earthers, also have an equal platform, and they can make themselves look like they're just as legitimate as everybody else.
Yeah, that's true.
So that one I've got mixed feelings about because I really do believe you should be able to say whatever the heck you want. But that some ideas are going mainstream that shouldn't be.
Maybe shouldn't, definitely. Well, and that's definitely not new to humanity. That's always been the case, but it does definitely give them a more global platform. Yeah. There are a couple of other negatives. I agree with what you just said. There are a couple other things that kind of jump to my mind. Social media creates a lot of false comparisons, I find, because we tend to put our best selves out there.
Yep.
We're not posting.
Look at my glorious life.
Yeah, we're not posting the days that we're sitting on the couch feeling sad and having a crummy day. We're posting the days where we feel good. And I think especially with our young people, there are comparisons that happen. You compare your everyday life to what someone else posts as their best day on social media. And that there's a lot of false and a lot of anxiety and
Well,
pressure
that's
that comes
fascinating
from
because
that.
they now know, as they're looking at it, psychologists and so on, that social media has not been an emotional positive for young people. They feel more alienated and they feel more depressed. And I think you're right there because, hey, all my friends have this marvelous life and I'm having a bad day. Something's wrong with me.
Right.
I don't know. Although
So-
it's easy to fake a wonderful life, It's like, look at me, I'm on vacation. But it doesn't show that you had a fight with your spouse and that you're,
It doesn't. It just shows.
Although I
a
post
slice
all of
life.
our arguments online. I don't know if you know that. I've been recording 24/7 at our house.
Wow. Then
Yeah.
you post a lot of stuff.
No, but Hareem edits them all, so I look amazing and you look unreasonable.
Oh dear. Kareem and I are going to have a talk.
You can't. I fired him. He's gone.
Oh yeah, right. He's not there anymore. Yeah.
Let's get more okay.
Well, one last thing about
Yeah.
that I find that is definitely a negative with social media. When you read a book, when you watch a movie, there's a beginning
If
and
you're
there's
under
an end.
35, a book is
this
a
paper
codex.
thing,
Well, yeah,
right?
it's made out of paper.
Yeah.
Dead trees with words on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a beginning and there's an end. Social media has no end point. So it kind of can become this time void where you get sucked into it and there's no natural conclusion to it. And I know time management is a huge thing for all of us as we're so interconnected.
Let's talk about social media in particular now. What do you like about it? What do you hate? And I guess from a Christian perspective, we want to look at it. We're not so much doing a Bible study today. It's just kind of considering the world we live in. But social media, what do you love? What do you hate?
There's something I love, which is the ability to connect with people that I don't know in real life, but I have things in common with. That's really neat. There's a gal I follow on Instagram, and it's the reason I started following her is she has a baby who has leukemia, and it's really sad. But I follow her because I'm interested in how her baby's doing. And I find myself getting emotionally invested in how this little guy's doing and watching the pictures of him in the hospital. And that's a person and that's a story and that's a baby I pray for now that I would have no idea they even existed because they live multiple states away from me. And so just making those human connections, that's a positive to me.
You know what you just reminded me of?
What?
The little boy who couldn't walk and he finally got crutches. And he was showing them to his dog. He was, 2 years
so
old.
cute.
Look, Maggie, I can walk, Maggie. It was very dusty in our house that day. I
Right.
I got something in my eye right after that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah. And so now here's a little guy that we can all pray for. I guess that's a positive. I think there's some negatives.
Oh, there are definitely negatives. I think the biggest negative about social media is there's this false perception of anonymity where you can post something to someone on an online platform that you would never say to them in real life. And that really degrades the whole level of conversation and how we treat each other. And that to me is the biggest negative is we don't treat each other civilly.
The trolls. You think that you're invisible, and none of you are invisible. I will find you. I can find you. No, it's true. Look at that. The clock is running down. Would you like to sign off and tell me to stop talking?
No, I'll let you do that.
Before Hareem starts waving at us. Oh, no, he doesn't work here anymore. We do have to take another break. I want to come back and talk about social media and witnessing. We'll be right back.
Disclosure is just one of the programs brought to you by the Voice of Prophecy, like the audio adventure program Discovery Mountain. Discovery Mountain is a weekly Bible-based program for kids of all ages and backgrounds. Your family will enjoy faith-building stories with Jake Donovan, Mr. Simon, and others in this small mountain town. Each summer, campers visit Discovery Mountain, where they sing songs, learn about God, and reenact a Bible story with the help of drama teachers Miss Wendy and Miss Tamara. With 24 full episodes every year and programming every week, your family will have something uplifting to listen to every week. Listen to episodes on demand and watch video features from Director Doug at discoverymountain.com or on your favorite podcast platform. That's discoverymountain.com.
And we are back from the break. I didn't have to get flowers that time because
No.
I was civil. I was a good man.
Yes, you were.
Yep. Well, as good as I get.
You,
I'm not that great.
you're awesome.
Christians and social media. That's what we're talking about today. We're having just kind of a kickback dialogue about it. And we talked about the things we love and the things we hate. And I do love Twitter. I really do love. What is going on in the background out there? Hey, squirrel. Are they teaching a first aid class out there?
They are. They're teaching a first aid class in the classroom.
Here's what I know about first aid. If somebody has a broken neck, the first thing you need to do is get them out of the hot sun, drag them under a tree.
Sure, that's the
All
best
right.
thing.
Disclaimer: do not do that. That is not medical advice. It does not constitute medical advice. You will kill someone if you drag them around when their neck is broken. Right? If they're bleeding from the head, use a tourniquet.
Okay.
Yeah, around the neck, right? Really tight.
Maybe you need to go take
Maybe
that
I need
class,
to take
Shawn.
the class. None of that was actual medical advice. Don't do any of those things.
No.
I indemnify Voice of Prophecy and all of its affiliates. If you do that, you will injure somebody. Do not do it. Yeah. All right. Christians and social media. Let's get a little more specific because I know a lot of Christians in various walks of Christianity are looking at social media and they're salivating over it and they're saying, ooh, social media is a witnessing tool. I can share my faith on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and whatever's coming next. What is after Instagram? There's more, right? Snapchat, they fixed up their Snapchat in the beginning. I was not a fan because it seemed to be a place for people to do unmentionable things because it disappeared.
Right.
And because how long did a Snapchat thing? I don't even know. What do you call it? A snap?
Maybe.
Was it a snap? It was called a
so.
snap.
They
right?
still disappear. That's
They still
the
disappear.
way it is.
Yeah, but so people were thinking, man, I can do this online and it's gone.
Right.
Yeah, screen capture. No, nothing's gone on the internet. And I know that it would tell people this, but I think they've cleaned up and they've gone more mainstream. It's not sort of
definitely.
a sexting. It's not a sexting tool anymore.
Teenagers and college age students love Snapchat.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's one thing, and I will come to young people and Christians and families in the internet, but the internet's forever, and that moment of indiscretion. We'll come to that in a minute. What about witnessing? What about witnessing in social media? Because I've spent my career. I'm a former heathen, and now a Christian, and I do love sharing the gospel, and I love watching people come to Christ. No question about that. I don't know that I'm convinced that social media is a powerful. Is it a witnessing tool? Maybe. Is it a powerful one? I'm not convinced. What about you?
Yeah, I would have to say maybe as well. I've seen attempts by individuals to use it as a witnessing tool that just made me cringe. They did not feel natural. But I also can think of two very specific examples of individuals who use it. One is intentionally witnessing and one is unintentional. So let me explain. There's a young man, Shawn, that became a Christian through a series of public meetings that you did a number of years ago, and his name is Nick. And when Nick became a Christian, he stayed connected on Facebook with all of his non-Christian friends. And he now just started at seminary. He's going to be a pastor. And he still occasionally has a live Facebook Bible study. And a bunch of his friends from his previous life and that he grew up with still connect with him, and they watch these Bible studies on Facebook and they interact and they comment. I think Nick's doing it right. I think he knows he has a specific audience and he tailors his topics to things that those individuals will listen to.
Did you hear my computer ping
I
in the
heard
middle of
your
your
computer
comments?
ping.
Yeah, I got a
Kareem's
dirty look
gonna
from
have
the.
to fix
no,
that.
I got no, just leave the ping in.
Just leave the ping.
I was trying to log into a flight, and it was telling me that I haven't been active in 95 seconds.
That's why we should multitask during the break.
It was Nick pinging me saying, "That's not true. That's not true." No, that is a great example.
That's an example. So here's another one where I think someone does it well. It's someone who, a fellow worker in ministry. His name is Roger. I can just say it. And on Twitter, I love Roger's tweets because he's usually not necessarily trying to witness, but he just talks very honestly about what he's doing in ministry and how he's feeling about ministry. And he's just talking about how he feels. And it's very natural. It's not like he's trying to put something artificial out there. And I think he's doing it well. He's a pastor, so I'm sure he knows he's witnessing, but he's not doing it in an awkward, cringy way. He's just being real, and I think that works.
Yeah, I remember one. I can think of one that went well, sort of. I was online, and now this is not Facebook, this is not Twitter. This was one of those, what do you call it if it's a bulletin board like service, but it's a thread? It's like Reddit. It was like
Okay.
Reddit. I don't know what do you call that, but there are these threads of conversation. And I'm scrolling through one and I come across this statement that says, Shawn Boonstra is a blankety blank, arrogant son of a blankety blank. And I thought, well,
Oh, dear.
a lot of that's probably true. I just wonder why he's saying it. What did
Yeah.
I ever do to this guy? And so I sent him a note because I could see he was live online right at that moment.
Wow.
And so I thought, hey, this is Shawn. Most of what you said is probably true. Just wondering what happened that, I offended you that way. And there's radio silence for about 30 seconds.
I
And he
imagine.
goes, is that really you? I said, yeah. And I sent him something to prove it. And he goes, oh, wow. He said, I posted that because I went to some public meeting you were holding. I walked in and I was in a foul mood and I never even heard you speak. I left before the thing started. And I know I called you a blowhard and stuff, but I was praying today that God would deal with me and my bad attitude and that something would happen today for God to let me know that he still loves me and that I can be turned around. And then you ping me and call me on being a jerk to you.
Wow.
And I didn't call him on it. I just said, hey, I'm just wondering what I did.
Yeah.
And so we ended up in a Bible study and he gave his heart to the Lord by evening. And, but, and what he said probably was true. I learned maybe I shouldn't appear aloof or something. I don't know. But overall, though, I've seen social media work wonders for advertising, marketing a Christian event. We've done it, for fairly inexpensive sums. You can advertise an event that you're holding in town and let people know that are actually interested in your event. Those are good. But overall, using, for example, you gave Roger as a good example of someone who uses Twitter well, but overall, using Twitter to witness, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that genuine witnessing, genuine proselytization, I know that's a negative word these days, but genuine sharing of faith happens in 140 in the old days, or
I would agree.
or 280 words. The
Characters.
the world loves sound bites, but I'm not sure that you can communicate the profound love of God for the human race in 240 characters.
Yeah,
sound
I agree
bites.
with you. I agree. I think the only way really is just to be real
Yeah.
on social media and let people see who you are as a Christian and how being a Christian affects your day-to-day life.
Yeah, being real and authentic is, and I guess that's one comment that I see good witnesses get all the time. Man, you're just real. You're honest about when you're having a bad day. You're honest and you still love Christ. You love Christ even on the bad days. You love Christ when you're discouraged. What is going on in your life? And you're not trying to present a false front. The world can smell a false front in 2 seconds
Absolutely.
flat, right? Oh, I'm so happy in Jesus today. Really? Because your dog got run over.
Yeah.
And you might have confidence in Jesus. You might have assurance in Jesus. But are you really happy today? Don't put on a plastic smile. Not everybody feels wonderful every day. And it's those authentic people that actually touch lives, the ones who are real. Here's another hesitation. I don't know if you found this one. You can start a discussion in Twitter, but I think you ought to go offline once you've connected with people because the personal touch is what matters.
Yeah.
But there's also this lack of context. So I can say something, and I think the world can see me smiling while I'm saying it on Twitter. But someone having a foul day is going to read it the other way and think that I judge them. I remember one day offhandedly saying, oh, the Marlboro man died today. Big shock, and that was a little bit snarky. Okay, I admit that was a little bit snarky, but big surprise. He died after promoting smoking all of his life, and
Right.
someone saw that. I didn't know them from Adam or Eve in this case, and she said, well, way to judge me for smoking. I don't know you. I didn't judge you for smoking.
Sure.
But she had this negative experience with, and so you have to bear in mind, they can't see.
You can't
could
see
put
the
even,
intent
Yeah, you could put
behind
a
it.
smiley emoticon there, but they're going to read it through that lens because they can't hear the tone of your voice. And the other one that bugs me, I might share with you, let me share with you that I've found some hope for dark days like this, and it's Jesus. And I don't know how to put this nicely, and I'm not the nice part of our marriage, some ignoramus will see that and jump into the discussion and hijack it.
Yes.
And that
Yes,
drives
that
me
happens.
bananas.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Have I seen it work? Sure. Have I seen it work well? Jury's out with me. I'm not convinced. Probably less convinced than you are even. I don't know.
Well, I came up with 2 examples that I could think of where it works, but those are two examples. So yes, I think it's rare, and just remembering that we are Christians when we're on social media, just as we are when we're interacting with people at the grocery store and in real life. Courtesy, kindness, authenticity. Those are the things that shine through, and are people see that because we are those things and because we're Christians, that maybe we're different from others.
Hey, maybe it's working for somebody out there, and send me an example of where it worked really well. I'd be curious to hear it.
That would be great.
Yeah, Box 999, Loveland, Colorado, or I guess you could drop it in our Facebook page.
Sure.
I don't know.
Comment on social media.
You can comment on social media. Write me a letter. I'm old. Write me a book. No, but maybe it's working for somebody out there. Let's ask this.
Okay.
What kinds of things should Christians remain kind of cognizant of as they get out there on social media? And what should you be thinking about? I mean, we've talked about witnessing, but every word you speak as a Christian is witness. Everybody's watching you, whether you like it or not. And Christians are, especially in this time, held to greater scrutiny than most people. What should we be thinking about if you're about to... And you should probably instruct me a little bit, because I don't always think before I tweet.
You're pretty good. Well, instantly, my first reaction to that question is to put on my parent hat and think of what we tell our daughters, which is whatever is online, just think of it in terms of being out there permanently and forever.
Can't be retracted.
And so your future employers will see that. I know when we're looking to add someone to our Voice of Prophecy team, one of the first things we do is we scour social media to see if we can learn not just the person from the resume, that's their public face, but what can we learn about them from social media? And so, we want to be aware as Christians that what we do online, it's not anonymous. It's there. It's a reflection of who we are. And we can change, and we can make mistakes too, and we can grow as Christians. But for the young people particularly, just remember that what you do out there is probably going to stay there forever.
I go back a decade and cringe.
Oh, yeah.
I cringe. Do you know what I cringe about, though? Typos. If you go back a decade and find a tweet with a typo in it, I'm mortified. And I know...
And you can delete the tweet, but you can't edit it.
Jennifer Schwerzer's probably laughing at this one. She's a guest on the show fairly regularly, and she said, Shawn, you need to let things go. If there's a typo, I dare you to let it ride. I cannot. Yeah. I cannot. And Twitter does not allow you.
It doesn't let you edit.
So I delete it. Bye.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that. I don't want to look like... I think that's big. We're going to come up on a break here, and I want to keep talking about this because it's huge that what you do online is there forever. Even if you delete it, I guarantee if you irritated somebody, they've got a screen capture, and it's there forever. And I do want to come back to that in a minute, because I think that really applies to Christians in particular because of the level of scrutiny we find ourselves subjected to. And that scrutiny Jesus was subjected to as well, because you're professing something higher, and so people watch. They want to know if it's really true. So let's take a break and come back to that, the things that we should be aware of.
Are you searching for answers to life's toughest questions like, where is God when we suffer? Can I find real happiness? Or is there any hope for our chaotic world? The Discover Bible Guides will help you find the answers you're looking for. Visit us at BibleStudies.com or give us a call at 888-456-7933 for your free Discover Bible Guides. Study online on our secure website or have the free guides mailed right to your home. There is never a cost or obligation. The Discover Bible Guides are our free gift to you. Find answers in guides like, does my life really matter to God? And a second chance at life. You'll find answers to the things that matter most to you in each of the 26 Discover Bible Guides. Visit BibleStudies.com and begin your journey today to discover answers to life's deepest questions.
We are into the fourth segment of our show today,
All
number
right.
4. And so, I don't know, I've used the old, I guess, football analogy. We're now in the fourth quarter. or whatever it is. So we're running out of time, again, because you've been talking so much and I couldn't get in a word edgewise. Yeah, that's not how it works. Social media, we're talking about it. It's a reality. We're talking about things that maybe Christians should think about as they use social media. And let's explore that a little bit more, because you were pointing out that the internet is forever. What kinds of things should we be thinking about if we're going to be on Twitter as believers? We've talked a little bit about witnessing. Is it really a great witnessing tool? I don't know. I don't know if the Wild West of communication is always the best place to have an honest dialogue with somebody.
Sure.
I tend to take people offline into direct messages if they have genuine questions, because I'm trying to circumvent the religious wackadoodles who love to jump into every discussion, and they usually drive people away from Christ. Let's just be blunt about it. There's a brand of Christianity that is judgmental. I think we've earned that, unfortunately, as Christians, because there are some people that can't wait to jump in and say, well, the reason you have problems in your life is because X.
Sure.
And that's not useful, I don't think.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things do you think about before you click send?
On social media, posting things.
Yeah, you're more careful
good.
than me.
It's good. I am
Remember
careful.
when I photoshopped my face onto a rather famous person and let it out into the wild? It's
Yes.
still out there.
Yes.
It is still out there, and I can't live that one down.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this a little bit already, but of course, it's out there forever. So that's a big consideration. And you mentioned that you can't read the tone or the intent behind words as easily as you can the spoken word. And so I do usually try to think, okay, will someone misinterpret what I'm saying? Will they take it the way it's meant? And I'm probably... I mentioned before the break that I admire Roger and how he tweets. He's very real and he's authentic.
Big shout out to Roger, if you're listening.
Roger Hernandez. And I'm not as transparent on social media. I have to admit that. I hesitate sometimes to talk as honestly about what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, because I always wonder how people will take it. And also, I value my privacy. And yeah, those are things that I think we all as Christians sort of need to keep in mind. There's a place for honesty. There's a place for transparency, but we have the right to protect our privacy as well.
Yeah, privacy is a big issue, and there isn't any privacy. I think you should assume, any service that is free, you are the product. That's the way that this works. If Twitter is free, you are the product. You're being sold. Your information's being sold. If Facebook is free, you are the product. And if you're comfortable with that, just be aware that that's how this works. They don't owe you anything. They gave you a free service, and they're mining your data and so on. I often remind people, look, if you're going to live your life as a Christian, if you want to live your life as a good witness, if you want to lead people to Christ, you also have to remember that all of your offhand remarks are there forever. They're out in public. So you could go and share Christ with somebody, and then they get online and find your angry political opinions, and they're on the other side of the aisle.
That's
Let's say
true.
you're a Democrat,
Very
they're
true.
a Republican, or you're a Republican, they're a Democrat. They find that, and the witness is over. And so I often tell churches, look, I'm glad you're active on social media, but please go back and scrub the thing. This is not the place to render your opinion on politics. Why would you alienate half of the audience for Christ because you declare yourself to be A or B?
I agree. I do not. Obviously, I think almost every adult has a political opinion. I don't share that.
None of them are as
social
valid as
media.
mine, though. None of those opinions are as valid as mine. We all know.
There
that,
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But no, I and that's a very intentional decision I've made, and I know you've made, Shawn, is my political opinions, because I have given my life to God in service, in ministry, my political opinions are my personal opinions, and I don't share those publicly because they don't influence what I do in my ministry life.
Yeah, and I don't think we're saying that Christians shouldn't be involved in the public sphere. I've always, as you know, have been a big believer that Christians should run for office, and Christians should be active in the public sphere. And the Lord knows we need more Christians active, bringing Christ into the marketplace of ideas. That's not what I'm talking about. But I think that if you are trying to witness, if you're a Christian deliberately using social media, if you're a church deliberately using social media, be very careful. So I know to the frustration of some, people have said, Shawn, why aren't you weighing in on the immigrant crisis? Why aren't you weighing in on this issue and that issue? And it's very simple, because our mission is to share Christ with the world. And a lot of those issues, while they have a key humanitarian component in them, and there are issues that Christians should address,
Yes, definitely.
our object is to lead people to Christ. And what's happened with a lot of those issues is they've become politically charged. Both sides of the aisle have charged those with political, ideological intent. And so I'm not sure it's the wisest to always weigh in 240 characters. If you want to do something more full-featured and bring the Canadian perspective, the Christian perspective, Canadian and Christian's virtually synonymous, right? Because all of the real Christians
Sadly,
are from
no.
Canada. No. The Canadian perspective. But if you want to bring the Christian perspective, then do it properly. Don't do it in
Right.
240 characters where you're going to be misunderstood and you alienate people
Yeah.
from Christ.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you don't personally get involved in causes, particularly humanitarian things where
Right.
you're making a difference for people.
Right.
But
I mean,
these kind of things are polarizing, is what I'm hearing you saying. And when you engage on one side of a polarizing issue, you are alienating the other side. And so, yeah, we want to share what we believe in our faith in a way that doesn't alienate anybody.
Yeah. So I try very carefully. Unfortunately, a lot of good causes have been hijacked in this highly politicized, highly polarized society and have become completely politicized. And I guess what I'm urging is be very careful, because you will be misconstrued. And
True.
they will hang what you say on all of Christianity. We are held to a fairly high level of scrutiny. Jesus was as well. Everybody was watching him. He's the great moral teacher. Let's see what he's going to... And they're forever trying to trap him. I think here's a good example. And I know after saying don't get involved in politics, I think I'm going to just do it anyway. It doesn't matter right now whether you go... whether you happen to be a Democrat or a Republican, or if you're outside of the U.S., a liberal or a conservative. Let's talk about what happened to Mike Pence. Mike Pence, and I'm not advocating for one side of the aisle or other, but I did notice this one issue. Mike Pence declared that, I do not want, and this actually happened to another guy who was running for office. He said, I don't want to ride around all day in a car with a woman who isn't my wife, just the two of us alone. And same with Mike Pence. He said, it's my practice that I don't meet alone with women who are not my wife. The door will be open. Someone else will be there. I just don't want to. And man, did people pounce on him for that. They just pounced all over him. That is a long-held Christian perspective. Many Christians take that approach because the Bible says avoid the appearance of evil. So
Yes, right.
I don't want to start tongues wagging. Someone sees Shawn Boonstra out for dinner with someone who isn't Jean Boonstra, and it's a woman and we're alone. It just takes one wagging tongue, one person who doesn't like Christianity or doesn't like me or my ministry to start a tongue wagging. Man, I saw him out for dinner with a woman who wasn't his wife. I want to live as clean as possible before the world. So I have the same policy as Mike Pence. I'm not comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And yet what people said, well, was he afraid that he's going to sexually assault a woman if his wife isn't there to control him? My point in bringing up this story is you're going to be held to a different standard than everybody else because you profess the name of Christ. And so I want to take that story and transplant it back into social media. And I'm not as careful as I should be. My Twitter feed is horrendous. If it comes to my mind, out it goes. But it will seem innocent to you, and somebody who doesn't have a taste for Jesus is going to misconstrue it and twist it. I guess that's my point. I'm not trying to make a political point here. You're going to be held to a different standard. I think that's really a big deal. We only have a few minutes left, but let's talk about our kids
Okay.
and social media. You and I have raised two kids who are technically savvy.
Yes.
They have never known a world without the internet. Weird.
Right.
What do you say to new parents now? Because here we are accomplished parents who know everything at this stage
yes,
of our
of
lives.
course.
Yeah, no, we figured it all out. So you just had a baby and you're wondering down the road when they get their first iPhone,
Yeah.
or maybe that's the issue.
Wow.
I don't know. What should you remember if you're raising kids in this environment as Christian parents?
Well, yeah, whenever we talk about our kids growing up in a world that's technically connected, I always remember a story of Naomi. She was about 5, and we happened to be at an event at a hotel, and she asked me if she could use my laptop for something, and I said to her, of course you can, honey, but it's not connected to the internet, so, what do you want to do, type on a Word document? And she looked at me And she did not understand what I said.
Yeah,
And
this is when she was little. This
she was
wasn't
5.
last week.
Yeah, no. She
She's
was
now
5.
17.
She's now 17. But then she looked at me very confused, and I tried to explain again. And she said to me, I thought the computer was the internet. Like she literally couldn't conceive at that stage of the difference. But here, and we've been back and forth with limiting social media for our kids, letting them have exposure to some stuff at different stages. I think every parent does it a little differently. But here's what I find very interesting, Shawn. It's listening to the conversations that our daughters and their friends have now about how they
Wait a minute,
plan.
you're creeping their profiles?
No, I mean real life
You're creeping
conversations. No. Real life conversations where they talk about how they plan to raise their children. And I've had conversations with other parents too, and their kids talk about this too. They do not want their children, their fictitious future children, to be in front of screens.
No kidding.
And I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like this next generation, when they become parents, that there may be kind of a course correction, and they may restrict their children just because they've grown up in this. They've seen the positives, but they've felt and they've experienced the negatives, not only of social media, but of continuous access to the internet.
Do you think parents should just keep their kids away from it altogether?
That is such a difficult question to answer because every parent's different. But my personal opinion is no, because it exists. And you can't deny the fact that screens and internet connection is a reality in our world today. And I think creating healthy boundaries and limitations and age-appropriate limitations are probably the best approach for parents, in my opinion.
Yeah, and again, every Christian parent needs to make that decision. There's definitely some dark sides. I have caught adult men creeping my teenage daughters. I've caught them.
Yeah, you have.
I have.
Yeah.
And they discover what the wrath of a father is in about 20 seconds, man. I scare them off. So there's some dark sides there, but do you just cut your kids off? No, it's the real world. Would you rather, and this is not advice for everybody, you know your own kids, but would you rather have them turn 18 and discover it all by themselves, or would you rather be there?
Yeah.
I guess my point is this. I think, honestly, as Christian parents, it's better to teach discernment than it is to teach prohibition. If you just say no to everything, every TV show, every book, then when they turn 18, they're going to wonder what they're missing out on, and they're going to go find those things without you there. I would rather hold their hand through that experience. I'm thinking about Natalie. I'm about to throw her under the bus. Remember when she was 12 and you had to be 13 to get Facebook?
Oh, yeah.
And we said, I want a Facebook. I said, all right. Instead of saying no, I said, go ahead. If you feel comfortable lying about your age to the people at Facebook, go ahead and open an account. Okay, so she went and opened the account. And then she tried to friend us. Remember? I said, no, we know you're a liar, so we're not going to friend a liar on Facebook.
Right.
And she felt so bad that by the end of the day, she had
She
wound down her
canceled it.
account. I don't want to be a liar online.
Oh, she's going to love this story.
Yeah.
Sorry, Natalie.
Sorry, just threw you under the bus. Everybody will know that you lied to Facebook at age 12 and told them you were 13. But that, I think, was more positive than just no, I think. Okay, if you are happy living that way, go ahead, try it on. See if you're happy being a dishonest person. And that one worked well. I'm not saying that'll work for every kid. There is no magic formula for kids. We need to do a show on that. Maybe our next show will be about raising kids because we're so good at it. You just bumped your mic on the air.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I pinged my computer, and I can't fire you, though.
You could, but you might be sorry.
Hey, while we just have a few seconds left, go ahead, visit our page. Take a look at the Voice of Prophecy. Look for us on Facebook. Let us know what you're thinking, but be nice or we will block you. We will do it. Yeah.
And not just Facebook, we're on Instagram and Twitter, too.
Yes, we are on all the social media platforms. Thanks for joining us this week. Visit voiceofprophecy.com. Have a look at it. See what else we've got to offer. I think you'll be delighted. Until next time, I'm Shawn Boonstra.